everyone, and welcome to our fourth in series on mental health awareness. And today's webinar is going to be on communication and language styles. I know we usually start at 12:30. I'd like to give just a couple of minutes while I introduce Ms. Akshita Dewan, who will be presenting to us today. She is a mental health practitioner. And one of the interesting things about the way she works or her practice is that she uses art therapy, which is a very innovative, creative, as well as evidence-based form of therapeutic intervention that has been known to work extremely well. So I leave it to Akshita to continue with the presentation. Just a couple of housekeeping rules before we start. As always, love the chat, love questions. So please, everyone, feel free to use the chat. Make sure that you have your questions on there. If you have any comments or feedback, if you can, please, if people are having problems with the audio or in that case, I think what you need to do is re-log in and make sure that your device actually allows you to, it gives permission for the audio to be used on the device. To reach out to us during the presentation itself, please use the chat. Otherwise, you can always contact us and contact@chearful.com. If you would like, and if you have any questions, please make sure feel free to ask them of us, and we will try and get to them as quick as possible. And on that note, I'm going to leave it to Akshita to continue on. Thanks, Akshita.
Hi, everyone. Priya introduced me so nicely, so I'll just give a very short introduction again. I'm Akshita, and I'm very excited to have do this presentation for you all today. I am a psychological therapist, as she mentioned, a mental health practitioner, and I do use art therapy, and I love it. So yeah, let's get started. Before we get started, I just wanted to make sure. So someone said in the chat box that they can't hear anything. Is it still an issue, or can you hear now? Just want to confirm before we start. Okay, so I'm going to take that as a yes. Great, perfect. Let's get started. So today's topic, as you all know, is communication and language styles. Communication is such a huge, broad topic to kind of put it concisely into 20 minutes, but I've tried my best. So through today's webinar, I aim to emphasize the importance of effective communication, both in workplace and in life itself. So communication is something that, whatever we talk about today, it's kind of, you would think more related to the workplace, but it's something that you basically practice every single day of your life. So it's easily applicable to your personal relationships and, your life outside of work as well. In today's presentation, we will be covering the types of communication styles, importance of effective communication, and a little bit of psychological perspective on communication. We can go to the next slide. Okay, so this is where you guys come in. Could you please name some of the communication styles we use on a daily basis? You can use the chat box to communicate your answers. I dropped a hint there. If you got it, that would be great. So yes, kindly communicate. Okay, body language. Visual communication, yes. That is a key word. I appreciate that. What else? I tend to describe and talk with words. All of us. Assertive communication, right? Nonverbal, perfect. Aggressive, wow, you guys have so many answers. You should be doing the presentation. Hand gestures, definitely. I use a lot of hand gestures when I communicate, especially when I'm trying to, for example, a situation like this where I'm presenting, I tend to use a lot of hand gestures. So you'll be seeing a lot of that. Eye contact, yes. Eye contact, definitely. Very, very important. Okay. Do we have any more answers? We have answers on the screen now. Okay, so a lot of the things that you said kind of fit in somewhere or the other in these 4 categories that I've listed here. So we have verbal communication that we use on a daily basis. We're using it right now. So this is using strong or passive speaking voices. This could be using strong or passive speaking voices or not. Using active listening skills, you avoiding fillers or using fillers. So this is basically when I do things like that. This is fillers. Avoiding industry jargon when appropriate. Then we have nonverbal, which is, people mention things like hand gestures, eye contact, body language. These all fall under the nonverbal category. This is noticing how emotions manifest physically, being intentional about your body language, mirroring body language, using your expressions to communicate. Then we have visual. Someone also said visual communication, I was very happy to see that because not a lot of people kind of remember that as a mode of communication, which is considering your audience when you're presenting visuals. This could be an example of verbal combined with a visual communication style, you can say. Making things clear and simple to understand. And, as it's commonly known, a picture speaks 1,000 words. Then we have written communication, something we also use very, very commonly in our daily lives, whether that's writing emails at work, using, like I'm sure everyone, even in personal life, right? I'm sure you all are in a WhatsApp family group where you all communicate through chat. So just kind of striving for simplicity, keeping the tone in mind. For example, when people say don't type in all caps because it comes off as you're screaming. So that's also something, a way of communication and how typing in small case or bigger case letters makes a difference. Reviewing your written communication before sending them, of course, because that kind of shows how mindful you are of what you want to say, and the other person feels important as well if you don't have grammatical errors and things like that. And then, of course, reading is so important. I would say, everyone should be reading something every single day because that just immensely helps to build your communication skills, written communication, verbal, just kind of imagination overall. So that's it for this slide. Coming to importance of effective communication. Now, why are we here? Why are we talking about effective communication? Why is it important? So effective communication is crucial for smooth functioning and success at any workplace, or I would say in any relationship. So what does it do really? So it enhances collaboration and teamwork. So when you're effectively communicating what you want to say, it enables individuals to share ideas, information, receive feedback, give feedback in a more effective manner, which leads to better problem solving and decision making overall. Secondly, we have increased productivity and efficiency. Of course, when you're able to communicate better, your productivity in the end is going to be increased as you're reducing errors, you're eliminating misunderstandings between two individuals or within a team. It ensures that tasks and responsibilities are properly communicated, preventing duplication of work and wasted resources. Then we have effective leadership and management. So leaders, it's very, very important for leaders to have effective communication as a strength, as a skill, because leaders who communicate clearly and inspire trust can effectively convey expectations, right? It's important to see trust here, because why does communication relate to trust? Because when you're able to effectively communicate, when you're able to listen clearly to what your team is telling you, you build that relationship of trust with them. And when there is trust, you're able to effectively convey your expectations. They're taken in a positive manner. You can provide feedback and motivate your team. Overall, better delegation of tasks and clearer goals setting through the team. Then we come on to innovation and creativity. This also kind of relates to the first point that we talked about, enhancing teamwork and collaboration. So because when there is effective communication, again, it encourages free flow of ideas, and it stimulates innovation. When people feel comfortable expressing their thoughts and suggestions, it just leads to creative problem solving and innovation within the organization. Customer satisfaction and service excellence. It plays a vital role in delivering exceptional customer service, because again, it comes down to what you want to communicate, whether you're listening to your customers' needs, whether their needs are being met because you understood those needs in the first place. So it just all revolves around communication. Ensuring customer needs are met, building trust with them, enhancing the relationship with the customer, and just contributing to overall customer satisfaction. And lastly, adaptability to change. So one of the most recent example that comes to my mind is the pandemic that we all went through, right? It was the huge, period of change. Everything was uncertain. And during this time, if you can think back, people who, managers or leaders, or just people who were effectively able to communicate, what's happening, the changes, kind of calming everyone down through their communication just helps, right? It just helps knowing that someone is there, they understand you, they understand your needs, and your needs are being met. So in times of change and uncertainty, effective communication becomes even more crucial because clear and transparent communication helps employees or people in general understand the reasons behind the change, and it just addresses their concerns in a more effective way and just facilitates a smooth transition. Now, it may not, sorry, can we go back to the previous slide? 1 second. Yeah, the last line there. It may not always be easy to let your coworkers know about your qualms on certain matters, but it would definitely help them to understand you better as an individual. And through this, though this is an important step, always remember to think before you speak. Next one, yes. So why do you think we need to know or learn? Like we spoke about the effectiveness of the importance of effective communication so far, but why do we need to learn about different communication styles? Any answers in the chat box? To understand each other better, definitely. To embrace diversity, yes. To have a culture of inclusion, inclusion, right? Very important term there. To have healthier relationships, definitely. So we know which one is most appropriate to use, right? Because it obviously changes depending on the situation you're in. So it's very important to know. To allow all styles feel seen, heard, yes. To eliminate misunderstanding, to have clearer and healthier communication in relationships, to communicate more effectively. I really love this. I'm so glad you all are sharing your points of views here. To see things from different perspectives, yes, definitely. Cultural inclusivity, all of this. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing. It makes me so happy. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. Definitely everything you all said basically summarized here. We think alike, so it fosters trust, it reduces conflict, it encourages a healthy work environment or any environment in that matter, family environment, relationships. It makes you a better leader, a better listener. It boosts employee engagement within the organization because you're able to be inclusive, you're able to understand people from different diversities, different cultures, backgrounds. It's so important in a country like, UAE, where people are from all different countries. It helps build and sustain better relationships. So that's why. Okay, now this one, I don't know. So just look at these and I'll go through them with you, but which one do you relate with? Or maybe you can think of, when we read the first one, maybe someone will come to your mind like, oh, I know who this is, or I know this person. So just keep that in mind. That would be quite interesting. So passive communicator, they tend to be quiet. They don't actively seek attention. They rarely take a stance and assert themselves. They share their feelings or express their needs. Their lack of communication makes it difficult to know whether they're uncomfortable or they need help. That's one type. Then we have aggressive communicators. So these communicators love dominating a conversation, often express their thoughts and feelings without hesitation, maybe even at the expense of others because they don't really think before they express how they feel. They may also react before thinking, causing tension, conflict, and low productivity overall. Then we have a mixture of both, which is a passive-aggressive communicator. They might appear agreeable at first, but behind your back, they'll quietly manipulate situations to benefit them or say things with double meanings. They may also try to hide their true feelings when speaking to you or influence you through guilt tripping or gaslighting. Now, we're not trying to say that passive-aggressive communicators are basically toxic. We are not saying that, but this could be a kind of communicator, or you kind of become this kind of communicator in different situations depending on the situation. Also, it can do a lot, it can basically have a lot to do with you than about the person that you're communicating with. It can come from a place of insecurity, it can come from a place of not being so confident in your own self, your own self-esteem. So can we say that, can we say that aggressive communicators is more relatable to extroverts and passive to introverts? We can make that assumption, but it also depends on the situation. Like we can say that aggressive communicators tend to be more extroverted, but then they can also behave as a passive communicator in a different situation. So it really depends on the situation, but yes, that assumption on the surface level can be made. Okay, next one. Assertive communicator. Most effective communication style. So before I get into this, a little bit backstory. So when I was back in university, my first year, I had some issues in my friend group. And I shared it with my aunt, who was at the time my local guardian where I was studying. And I shared it with her. I said, I'm going through this with my friend group. I understand where this girl is coming from, but I feel, this is how the situation can be handled instead of, taking it to the next level. And I want to say these things to her, but I don't want her to feel bad. Like I want her to understand that I'm coming from a good place. I don't mean bad for her and things like that, basically. So what she told me was, I'm going to say this to you now, and this applies not just with this particular conflict that you're having, but also, generally at work, in university, when you grow older and you're in a workplace. So it's very important to be assertive. She told me that, I know the kind of person you are, and you have the right intentions, you have good intentions, but you're not assertive. You're not confident enough to kind of stick to what you believe in. And that's something that really struck to me, and I have been working on it ever since. And I'm very happy and proud to say that I've come a long way from that girl in first year of undergrad. But this is the kind of communicator I aspire to be every day, and I'm constantly working on it. So assertive communicator is their most effective communication style in leadership and across teams, considered to be. People in this category share their thoughts confidently, but always kindly and respectfully. They aren't afraid of challenging themselves or setting healthy boundaries at work. They also intuitive communicators, making others feel comfortable and facilitating productive discussions. Okay, now this is kind of the last bit of our presentation, where we're going to shed some psychological light on communication and styles. So communication styles can be influenced by various factors, including individual personality traits, past experiences, and organizational culture. And this can also, if there's an echo, is someone unmuted? Okay, I think it's gone. Okay, cool. So now this can also apply, like I said earlier, not just organizational structure, but just everywhere in, whenever you're dealing with people. Now, it won't always be smooth sailing. Why? Because there's personality traits, there's social learning theory, there's communication apprehension, there's just so much within the psychological perspective, and I'll be sharing some of them with you today. So personality traits play a significant role in shaping communication styles. And as we all know, everyone is a different individual, every personality is unique, and that just means a lot of communication styles and a lot of communication differences. So for example, individuals with extroverted, like there's two examples here. For example, individuals with extroverted personalities may engage in more frequent and expressive communication, while introverted individuals may prefer to listen and observe before they contribute. Then this is a very simple example of personality traits, but like I said, there's, I would say, billions of unique personalities around the world. So definitely a lot more. And then there's social learning theory. What is social learning theory? Is basically when you are influenced by, the people around you, someone you look up to, your supervisors, your mentor, or your colleagues around you, and you kind of start imitating behaviors through observation and modeling. And individuals may adopt communication styles by observing their colleagues, supervisor, or mentors. This kind of goes back to a very simple thing, like in childhood, right? When you're just learning how to speak, and when you're just trying to say your first few words as an infant, as a toddler. And when someone, an adult person or anyone tells you, okay, can you say, let's say ball, okay? And they say ball and the child tries to say ball, but the child doesn't just say ball, they say ball the same way that adult person said it, right? They try to imitate the accent as well. So we're not saying that in communication styles you're trying to imitate people's accents, but kind of the style of communication where it kind of stems from is the social learning theory. Then we have communication apprehension. Some individuals may experience communication apprehension or anxiety, which can impact their communication styles. This apprehension may stem from a fear of judgment. They feel like what they want to say is going to be rejected, so they just prefer not to say it. And this apprehension or criticism, or they'll be criticized. So understanding and addressing communication apprehension can foster a much more inclusive and open communication environment. Next, we have cultural differences. So cultural backgrounds and values significantly influence communication styles. And as some of you already mentioned in the chat box, that, kind of understand why is it important to be an effective communicator is to understand the cultural differences. So different cultures have distinct preferences for direct or indirect communication, and understanding and respecting cultural differences in communication is essential to promote effective cross-cultural communications and avoiding misunderstandings and just being more inclusive. Then we have emotional intelligence. Another super important one refers to the ability to recognize, understand, and manage your own emotions as well as emotions of others. Individuals with high emotional intelligence are more likely to communicate effectively by considering other people's perspectives, by expressing empathy, and just resolving conflicts constructively. And then lastly, we have organizational culture. The overall organizational culture can shape communication styles within a workplace. So it kind of really depends sometimes on the kind of environment you're in and how you communicate according to that environment. In some organizations, communications may be hierarchical, so formal, top-down, while in others it may be more collaborative, more informal, more open. People are more comfortable sharing how they feel. So it depends on organizational culture as well. So yeah, you can go on that slide. Yes, so in today's webinar, I aim to emphasize the importance of effective communication in both workplace and in life itself. Communication is the foundation on which relationships are built, ideas are shared, and progress is made. Whether it's a professional setting or our personal lives, effective communication plays a vital role in achieving success and fostering meaningful connections. It is through clear and concise communication that teams collaborate projects and execute flawlessly. By actively seeking to understand others and communicating our own perspective respectfully, we can overcome differences, find common ground, and just work towards shared goals. By striving to be better communicators, we can break down barriers, foster understanding, and create a world where collaboration and empathy thrive. Thank you so much for listening to me today and being so active in the chat box.